accused of murdering my baby daughter and attempted murder of my son and stepdaughter in 2008. I was remanded in prison for 6 months, and during that time I began to become aware of all the things that go on in the justice system that I just would never have expected before. After a house fire where I'd lost my baby, that was a tragic enough thing on its own to have to deal with without all the rest of it on top. That was just completely unnecessary. Yeah, it's hard really to talk about it and go through it all in detail, but because every time you go over it again and again, it's just like going right back to the night when it happened, and it takes you right back to that same place again. You can even smell the smells and the noises. You can just hear them all over again. I'd been in hospital for 5, nearly 6 days in intensive care, and it had only been a couple of hours since they'd told me that Annalise hadn't made it. Well, my thoughts had been with Annalise and how we were going to find a way of moving on and living without her in our lives. And also getting back to Corinne and my son and my other daughter. I spent days and days just asking to get out of the hospital. I just really wanted to get back to them so that we could sort of be together again. The day before I left the hospital, they told me that I probably wasn't well enough to go for another few days. They thought I might end up getting pneumonia because of the infection in my lungs from the smoke and everything. I'd been lucky to survive, and that's had its own sort of psychological things as well, because I felt sort of guilty because I survived and she didn't. I wished, I wished I'd managed to save her and not me. It was really just like living in a bubble, and the world was going on around you, and it's just, your whole world is gone, really. But it's not, because you've still got James and Christina, and you're having to try for them. But you have lost something that is such a fundamental part of your life, something that you love, more than anything else.
Can you take me to the events of that night?
My niece had been staying over that night. She'd asked if she could go camping with her friends instead, and I said, no, if you're supposed to be coming to stay with us, you should be with us, and I don't know your friends. I don't want you swanning around on a hill somewhere that I don't know where you're at. It's too much responsibility. It's not my place. But they agreed that they would just put the tent in the garden instead. Then they asked that if I would get them some drink, and again I didn't really want to, because, well, apart from anything else, she's my niece, not my daughter, and though I don't think that it's a bad thing necessarily for them to be introduced to a little bit in the privacy of their own home, so that they can sort of learn to drink responsibly. I agreed that I would get them two of the little bottles of Wicked between 3 of them, which I didn't, it's not a lot. One of them had said that she didn't think that boys found her attractive, and all her friends and my wife, and they just kept. They were just telling her, so, you've not got anything to worry about. And it was just an off-the-cuff stupid comment, but I said I would be. It didn't mean anything. It was just, just designed to, well, not designed to do anything, but just meant to sort of give her a bit of confidence, let her know that she didn't need to worry about it. And my wife got upset about it, and she left the house to calm down. My niece had been putting in her sort of 2 pence worth through that, and I told her that she hadn't helped. She'd kind of really made it worse with what she'd said, so she went off after Cream, and I'd done a 12-hour day. I'd had a few drinks. I'd been up since about 5:30 in the morning or something like that, and I was shattered. So I went to bed, sent a text to my wife saying, please just come back, I love you. And the next thing I knew, I woke up with the fire alarm going off, and I could hear James and Christina screaming. I could see a little bit of smoke coming in through there's a gap in the top of the door. But I could see just a little bit of smoke just drifting in through the top of that. And I got off the bed and I went and opened the door. But when I opened the door, what was in the hallway was far worse than I was expecting. It was really thick, dark smoke. And I went to the bottom of the stairs, and when I looked up, I could just make out James and Christina standing at the top of it. They were huddled together at the top of the stairs. I just see them through the smoke. And I was shouting at them, "Come on, you've got to go. You've got to get out." And as I started going up the stairs, Christina came down, but James, he was just scared stiff, and he was just stood there with his arms all in. And I went up and I just grabbed him. By that time, well, we were up the stairs and Christina was down the stairs, and so I went back down the stairs with James, and I went to put him out the door. And he was clinging on that way, the way they do this, really, really tight, and he wouldn't slip. So I managed to, I prized him off and I put him outside, and I said, "Look, you've got to go. And I went to go back in to get Annalise, but James came in too. So I had to put him out again. And I was shouting at him, "You've got to go. You've got to go." I said, "I'm going back in to get Annalise. I'll be back in a minute." And that time I went back in and I locked the door so he couldn't come back in. But by that time it was only can only been a minute or two, but it was just so much worse in that short space of time. I went to try and get back up the stairs again. I'm not sure how far I got. I think it must have been near the top, but I couldn't breathe. I couldn't see. My eyes were stinging, and I was choking. And I knew I wasn't going to make it. So I thought, well, I've got to go and get some air, because I must have fallen at the bottom of the stairs, because I remember remember having to get back up. I don't actually remember falling over, but I remember picking myself up. And then trying to go forward, and this wall being there, and I couldn't understand why this wall was there. And I turned and tried again, and everything I did, there was always something in my way, and I couldn't figure it out. And I was and that's really the last thing I remember till I woke up in the hospital. It's a terrible feeling, being lost in your own home. I suppose it was just panicking. We were trying to plan for a funeral and make it perfect. You say perfect. It was never going to be perfect. It's something you wish you didn't have to do. But we were trying to make sure that she had the best, prettiest dress and all that kind of thing. So that it was just because it was the last thing that we could do for her. And they phoned up one Saturday morning and said, "Can you come into the police station?" And we thought that's what we were going in for. We thought we were going to be told that she was back and the body had been released so that we could do that. But it wasn't like that at all. We got in and I was taken off separately. I thought they must have had a few more questions they needed to ask about clearing something up or something. I don't know, but that's all I thought it was. But I was taken into the police station and I was arrested. It's this. It's really difficult to describe the feeling when they said that I was being arrested. Not only arrested, but what I was being arrested for. One of the things that they kept saying in the interview was, "Why do you not just carry her up the stairs and get her?" Why did you not get her when you were up there with James anyway? So yeah, you look back on things and you think, well, yeah, that's the logical thing to do. And you kept trying to make out in court that I was trying to make myself out to be some sort of hero. I certainly don't feel like it. I've never felt like that. I've only ever felt like a failure. I woke up in Aberdeen. Annalise, the little baby, didn't make it. That's when your world's falling apart, isn't it? It's such a precious, happy world. Still an accident.